Greetings, folks. I'm Tim Mendees. Thank you for joining me once again for another one of my live readings. Tonight, I'll be reading the story Red Ring of Death from the D&T Publishing anthology. It's all fun and games until somebody dies. Now, I've written a few stories of death in video games, death in computers. In fact, I've my great old one, Jirigathy. I've got a cycle that runs parallel with it, the Parasite Code cycle, and this is part of it. One of my biggest things is video gaming, so it kind of stands to reason, really, that it was going to happen sooner or later. And it was actually the first story I ever had accepted, not published, but accepted, was the story The Parasite Code. So it happened sooner rather than later with me. But I had such fun writing this one. Now it's going to be kind of tricky to read because it's quite pacey. So if I fluff, as usual, just snigger at me. Don't make a big deal out of it, or make a big deal out of it. I don't care. Right. So I'll tell you more about the story and how you can get hold of it after the reading. That thing scrolling along the bottom, that is basically type in that universal link and that'll send you straight to Amazon so you can buy a copy. It's basically full of stories about games gone deadly. Very, very cool. Very cool. But yes, so without further ado, I will start. And this is my story, Red Ring of Death. Just die, goddammit! Deb parried the swipe of the razor-sharp claw with one deft swing of her enchanted blade. The colossal beast reared back on its multiple legs and slammed both arms into the floor of the circular chamber. A shockwave burst from the point of impact in a quick-spreading purple line. Deb jumped, but mistimed her evasive move, and the blast knocked her onto a leather-clad rump. The oversized mantis with flaming orange eyes and blue battle armor clacked its mandibles in delight as it prepared to rush her prone body with a slicing attack. Quick as a flash, thanks to her magical boots of speed, Deb rolled backwards and danced into the far corner of the arena, swigging a neon pink health potion. Her body rippled with newfound strength, and her annoying limp had cleared up in a flash. Come on then, you big bug, Deb snarled as she hot-switched her katana for a flaming battle axe and leapt 15 feet into the air. Swinging the head of the weapon under her feet, the momentum brought her crashing down on the creature's chitinous cranium. The mantis lawn screeched and shed its armor as it entered its frenzy state. Deb had to keep moving. One hit from the enraged boss monster at this stage would be more than enough to put her down. The Mantis Lord was deadly when he was cheesed off. Deb danced and strafed as the gigantic insect swung its serrated arms and clacked its viciously sharp mandibles. She managed to parry one of the blows and land a solid strike to the chops that made it hiss furiously. Another blow and the creature was dazed. It was now or never. She needed to fully charge her attack and cleave the beast's head from its shoulders. She bit her lip as the rage meter filled with pulsing, viscous red, and then bring, bring! The momentary distraction caused by the ringing of her phone made her release pressure on the X button just for 1 second. A fatal error that would herald an epic fail. Shit! Deb screeched as her axe hung limp, and the mantis retaliated by snatching her muscular form in its strong arms. Razor-sharp spikes violated her flesh in a plume of red mist. Swearing like an enraged docker, Deb mashed the buttons to try and struggle free. It's no good. With a sickening crunch, the mantis bit her head off, and her neck erupted like a geyser. Game over. Ah, crap. Deb sighed as she tore the VR helmet off her head. So damn close. This had better be good. She picked up her nagging communication device and squinted at the screen. Oh, what does that dickhead want now? It was her ex-boyfriend, Lee. She had unceremoniously dumped him several weeks ago, but he just wouldn't take a hint. What? She snapped down the phone with enough bite to sever his listening ear. Hey, babe. Don't call me babe, you cock. Sorry, Deb. What do you want? I'm kind of busy. Deb rolled her eyes and counted to 10. She already smashed one smartphone due to this idiot, and she couldn't afford to replace another. I wondered if you wanted to go for a drink down the Siren's Rest. They've got the top spec VR booths. Me and the boys are going down to give them a whirl. Nothing made her blood run colder than the phrase, me and the boys. Look, Lee, I don't think you understand how splitting up works. I've got far better things to do than watch you and the goon squad play Call of Duty. Right. Why? What are you playing then? There it was, the question. She was currently playing a hardcore RPG with a healthy online community that had yet to go toxic. And the last thing she wanted was a bunch of testosterone-fueled nerds oozing machismo all over the server. Just some retro survival horror stuff, she lied. It was a great lie, too. Lee couldn't handle horror games. Despite being 6 foot tall, he was a massive wuss that once nearly wet himself when a 10-year-old kid in a sheet jumped out at him at Halloween and said, boo. Okay, maybe another day then. Perhaps we could go together and do some co-op? Deb had heard more than enough. Bye, Lee. Click. Take a fucking hint, why don't you? Deb tossed the phone onto the bed and rubbed her strained eyes. What part of piss off does he not understand? Theirs had been a tumultuous relationship at best that had been on again, off again, throughout its 6-month duration. The final straw had been when she caught him sending a digitally enhanced picture of his gentleman's sausage to some half-elf warrior on a Warcraft forum. Deb's bedsit seemed strangely distant due to the last 2 hours of visual bombardment of high-resolution pixels and polygons. This was the only trouble that she'd ever experienced with VR. Deb was pretty much bulletproof when it came to motion sickness, but even the most hardened VR head had to call it a day after a while, or their vision would start to go wonky. Pouring the remnants of last night's wine into a tumbler, she collapsed onto her sofa with a mighty sigh. It had taken her 7 exhausting attempts to get that close to defeating the Mantis Lord boss, and to have it blown to hell by her annoying ex was maddening. She was currently leading the charge in the game's quickly expanding community, and was firmly on track to be the first gamer to unlock the secrets of Jirigathy. Rediscovered. The trouble was, people were beginning to catch up due to her live streams. Any Johnny come lately could just watch how she had whooped the giant centipede boss that had guarded the 6th seal and quickly romped past it. Such was the peril of being a trailblazer. The original version of the game had released way back in the early 90s on the Commodore 64, and then had quickly vanished without a trace. It had seen something of resurrection just a few years ago when the original code was discovered lurking on the dark web by a couple of hardcore gamers, and subsequently overhauled as a popular and notoriously impossible flash game. Deb had never heard of the original, but as soon as the trailers for the reboot dropped, she was hooked. Any game that vowed to make hardcore gamers cry was guaranteed to pique her interest. Gone was the primitive pixel art and top-down perspective, to be replaced with a 360-degree camera and photorealistic graphics. It was ultra bloody, ultra dark, ultra cool. The fact that it was VR compatible was just a massive cherry on the already delicious cake. Deb took a glug of wine and instantly regretted it. She obviously hadn't corked it properly, and it was now closer to salad dressing than a beverage. God damn it! Could tonight suck any worse? Ping! Crossing her fingers for some good news, Deb wobbled over to a monitor and checked her instant message. The message was from her best gamer buddy, Art Scavenger 64. Her face lit up. Though she'd never met the chap, he somehow always managed to make her feel better. They had a connection that she'd never achieved with anybody in the flesh. They'd met through the game. Another reason she loved it. Hey, Deb, the message began. What happened? You nearly pawned the Mantis. With a deep sigh, Deb hammered out her response. Phone rang. Stupid ex-boyfriend won't take the hint. Art Scavenger expressed his condolences on the failed run. Her mysterious friend proceeded to tell her about all the other runs that people had made in the last hour or so. Wasn't good news. Some kid in Thailand had also reached the Mantis Lord Arena and had nearly defeated it by using a glitch exploit that let him spam fireball potions. He'd ultimately failed in the end, however, as the Mantis Lord's final phase had fire resistance, and he was rendered impotent. Deb grinned. It was always pleasant when karma worked in her favour. After a few more exchanged messages, it became clear to Deb that she had to get back into the realms of the parasite god and kill that oversized bug pronto. Any further delay could cost her position in the online rankings. Art Scavenger 64 had an almost Svengali-esque knack for getting her G'd up at her pulse hammering. With a grimace, she necked the remainder of the wine, slipped on the gloves, and donned the helmet. It was time to kick ass. Deb stood before two looming spiked gates that stretched high into the gloom of the subterranean fortress. Gnarled and twisted trees grew from cracks in the cobbled road that snaked all the way from the plague-infested ghoul village of Sakamand, through the cursed Pickman Cemetery, and finally to the fortress of the Mantis Lord. It had been tough going, as the plague-maddened ghouls were ferocious adversaries that would quickly swarm you and beat you down with tree limbs and hunks of crumbling gravestone. Fortunately, there had been a save point and a merchant before the battle ahead. Checking that her potions and armor were fully equipped, Deb took a deep breath, gripped her flaming battle sword in both hands, and spoke the sacred words of opening. Magan Yagor Bug Hahore! Who dares awaken the guardian of the seventh seal? An insectoid voice hissed from the gloom. I do, Deb bellowed into the microphone of her top-of-the-range helmet. Then you shall perish, fleshy maggot. Crack! With a tremendous shockwave that sent vibrations from her gloves to her spine, the Mantis Lord reared back in a praying posture, then struck the ground with both forelegs. Deb leapt at just the right time to avoid the AoE attack that felled her the first few attempts and taken away half of her health bar. The first attack was crucial. If the Mantis Lord knocked her down at this point, then she wouldn't be able to recover. Changing direction in midair with a double jump, Deb swung her blade in an overhead arc and brought it down on the Mantis Lord's head. Yes! Got you this time! The giant bug was stunned. Its bulbous eyes flashed and its head rolled. It was now or never. She had to get the battle armor off and hit the weak points on its lumpen abdomen with as much force as possible. Scoring a bullseye with a trio of fireballs, Deb rushed to its left flank and hit it along its rump with a series of charged strikes. Ching! Yes! The first half of the armor fell to the bone-strewn floor of the arena. Deb quickly dodged the creature's scything leg and rolled around to the other side. She repeated the process and was rewarded with another triumphant ching. Now the Mantis Lord was enraged. Deb ducked, danced, and rolled away from all the furious creature's attacks, landing blows whenever there was an opening. The Mantis Lord hissed with rage as it swung its serrated limbs for Deb's head. With a split-second dodge, she evaded the attack and slammed the blade down on its head. She had it. This was the moment. If her phone rang now, murder would be committed. Deb charged her attack and let it fly. As the Mantis Lord's head spun from its shoulders in a rain of black ichor, Deb howled in triumph. She had done it. Take that, kid in Thailand. She was the undisputed queen of the realm of the parasite god. Look out, Jirigathy, I'm coming for you. The seventh seal was about to crack, and the path to the scavenger god was about to open. The end game was in sight. Lighting the room in an eerie red glow, the blood of the Mantis Lord spread into grooves in the floor. It was the seal. It had been under her feet the whole time. Her gloves started to vibrate as the chamber began to quake. The seal burst with a blinding flash that made Deb lose her equilibrium. Her legs buckled, sending her sideways across her bedsit. Her side connected sharply with a computer desk as strange geometric symbols flickered in front of her eyes. With a scream of pain, Deb tried to get a balance, but her hands wouldn't work to steady herself. Thrashing around and wailing like a tormented soul, Deb's vision was relentlessly assaulted by a dizzying stream of quickly flashing images. She didn't have photosensitive epilepsy, but was pretty sure that what she was experiencing was close to a seizure. Marshalling her body, she tore the helmet from her head and launched it across the room. It hit the wall with an enormous crash as her body crumpled to the floor and her lights went out. A strangled whine accompanied Deb's return to consciousness. Her eyes swiveled as she tried to stop the ceiling roiling like a dirty cream ocean. The light stung her eyes. "Computer," she croaked, "dim the lights." She had renamed her digital assistant, as its original name was also her mother's, and she always felt weird ordering her mum around. After a moment, the lights softened. Deb rolled over onto her side and gazed in horror at the mangled VR helmet in the corner. No, 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 no. She whimpered as she dragged herself towards the wreckage. Please don't be broken. Please don't be broken. Please don't be broken. Her mantra was useless. It was smashed beyond repair. Deb wailed in anguish. Oh, sweaty ball bags. This was a disaster. 200 quid's worth of state-of-the-art VR kit gone in a flash. She held her head in her hands and cursed her stupidity. She blamed the rancid wine for her wobble. As she came up with increasingly creative and elaborate ways to berate herself, a hideous thought popped into her mind. What if it hadn't saved? Dread, worse than anything she had ever experienced, set up home in her belly. Deb scrambled to her feet and rushed over to her ridiculously powerful PC. Please have saved. Dear God, please have saved. All the colour drained from her cheeks as she stared at a blank screen. This wasn't good. She never powered down her PC, and the liquid cooling system meant she never had to. Grabbing one of her 3 screens, she jabbed the power button with her index finger. Nothing happened. A puzzled look crinkled her expression like a handful of crepe paper. She stared in confusion at the little red circle that ringed the usually green power indicator. What the hell? With frenzy taking hold, Deb checked the next screen and the next. Each one had the same strange red circle. Memories of last tech generation danced in her head like excited devils as she suddenly realized what was making that annoying whining sound. It wasn't in her head, it was her computer. Falling to her knees, praying to every deity she could think of, Deb scurried under the desk and peered in horror at her beloved PC. There it was, around the power switch, her worst nightmare, the red ring of death. No! Deb screamed as she thumped the tower unit with the base of her tightly clenched fist. It did no good. If anything, it made the whine even more shrill. A mascara-caked tear rolled down her pale cheek as she sniffed. Computer, search for red ring of death. It took only a few seconds due to high-speed broadband before the obnoxiously cheerful voice of her smart home came up with a reply. Red ring of death. Catastrophic hardware failure resulting in complete shutdown of gaming console. Right. How can I fix the red ring of death? The red ring of death cannot be fixed. Bullshit. There has to be a way to fix it. What can I do? Buy a new computer or gaming console. I know of 3 electrical stores that are close to you. Oh, piss off, you smug cow. Ping! Eh? The unmistakable sound of messenger confused her for a second. Ah, phone. Where are you, phone? Her smartphone was on her bed, where she'd thrown it earlier. She picked it up and scanned the message. It was from Art Scavenger 64. Nice work on the Mantis Lord. Where did you go? Deb sighed in frustration. My computer packed up. I think it's the red ring of death. I thought that was only last-gen consoles. Yeah, well, it's not. Deb walked over to her kitchenette and grabbed her emergency bottle of rum from the cupboard under the sink. Took a swig that nearly stripped the enamel from her teeth. Crap, Art Scavenger replied. You need to get back online ASAP. That kid has just beat it and has entered the scavenger's domain. Deb screamed and stamped her feet like an enraged toddler. Damn it! No PC. No PC. Any suggestions? Art Scavenger's reply popped like a flashbulb above her head. Dunno. Internet cafe or barcade? It just so happened that there was a new barcade in town. It was a freezing cold November night, and the bus had been late. Deb was thankful for the rum in her guts, or she'd been even more miserable than she already was. She couldn't believe that she'd been forced to call that idiot Lee and ask him what games they had loaded on the VR booths at the pub that he was in. Her heart did a little flip when he told her that they had the game loaded on one of the bigger booths. It's some new ultra-hardcore RPG or something, Lee had explained. You have to be signed up to it and have a profile to play. It loads your online saves. There's some kind of leaderboard. That's okay. I already have an account. I was playing it when my PC went on the blink. Deb bit her lip and drew blood. She'd just blown her cover. Lee sounded even more dejected than usual. I thought you were playing some old horror game. What was that? Sorry, Lee. Signal keeps cutting out. See you later. Bye. Deb exhaled, then smiled. The old malfunctioning phone trick. Classic. Finishing her cigarette, Deb peered through the grimy window of the pub and was struck by 2 conflicting emotions, dread and excitement. On the one hand, she would be able to continue her gaming session where she left off and kick some dimensional shambler bottom. But on the other, ugh. Lee and the boys were all crowded around one of the large green cubicles that now took up 2/3 of the pub. It looked like they were playing VR tennis or something equally pointless. It was a mystery to Deb why someone would waste time and money playing something on VR that they could actually do in real life. It made no logical sense. After one last nip from a bottle in her handbag, Deb took a deep breath and opened the door. Deb! Came an excited cry from across the sparsely populated pub. She hadn't been in the Siren's Rest since she was a nightclub back in her teenage years. The decor hadn't changed much. Still dark, grotty, and crammed with nautical paraphernalia. Rolling her eyes and giving Lee a half-hearted wave, she weaved through the tables and hit the bar. Large rum and coke, please. Deb waved a £10 note at the stoned-looking barman. The man took her money and handed her a small amount of change. Deb nearly choked on her first sip when she realised how much that drink had cost. Hey, Deb, glad you could make it. Lee beamed as he moved in for a hug. Deb poked him in the chest with 2 fingers to keep him at bay. Let's just get one thing clear. This is not a date, okay? The only reason I'm here is that my PC got the red ring of death. Mumbling an apology and looking sheepish, Lee looked furtively over his shoulder. 2 of his friends, who Deb had nicknamed Beavis and Butthead, were doing pelvic thrusts and mouthing, "Get in there!" and "Go on, my son!" Deb rolled her eyes and stalked off towards the M booth, leaving Lee with his mouth gaping like a stranded guppy. Wow, this is top-notch VR kit, Deb gasped as she inspected the hardware. The helmet was a work of art. After paying the deposit and logging onto her account, Deb slipped on the gloves and stretched her calf muscles. It was then that she realised that she had an audience. It was Lee and his cronies, all leering as though they had never seen a girl kick some serious arse before. Deb turned. If you distract me, I will kill you. She jabbed a finger at each one in turn, then slipped on the helmet. Oh, thank God. The relief that washed over Deb as the game loaded and she found herself standing over the slain corpse of the Mantis Lord was awesome. Yes, the loot hasn't vanished. She cried in joy as she reached down with her gloved hands and collected a bunch of gold and armor shards. The resolution on the helmet was incredible. It was cliche, but actually was like she was standing in that dimly lit chamber. Flickering torches in alcove sconces bathed the floor in dancing shadow. The headphones were just as impressive. She couldn't discern the pub noise at all, but could hear every crackle of the fire, every drip of mantis blood. The floor had melted away, revealing a yawning abyss ringed in shimmering blood. A red ring of death in its own right. The seal was open. The way to the final reckoning was clear. Deb necked a healing potion and jumped into the abyss. Colours and shapes flashed past her head in such a way that she felt weightless. Small vibrations in her gloves and at the back of her helmet gave her the impression of speed. She had only been in the game for a couple of minutes, but already she had forgotten the pub, forgotten Lee, and forgotten his idiot friends. She'd forgotten who she was. At that instant, all that mattered was that she was in the game and that she was about to fight her way to the throne of the parasite god Jerigathi. She was going to be the first person in history to unravel his secrets. Landing with a loud thud and a jolt of vibration, Deb found herself in some kind of tunnel. The walls were made of some sort of shifting protoplasm that rippled when she moved her hand near. It stretched downwards towards a gate of twisted bones and misshapen skulls. Okay, she said, taking a step forwards. Let's do this. Deb always played VR standing and walked on the spot. It was her way of dealing with the disassociation that can occur when your body stays still, when your mind thinks it's walking. At home, she sometimes crashed into things, but here she had so much room. The booth was about the same size as her bedsit and didn't have any pesky obstacles like furniture. Reaching the gate, Deb placed both of her hands on it and shoved. It was amazing. The feedback in the gloves made her feel like she was actually touching them. As soon as Deb stepped through the gate, she was ambushed by 3 barbarians. Stripped of her weapons and thrown into a dank cell, She was pretty sure it was a scripted event. But her anxiety level went sky high over her confiscated loot. Great. An escape level. I'd better get my damn gold back. A sudden jostling hand on her shoulder immediately broke the immersion like a warhammer on sugar glass. What? She snarled, lifting one of her ear cans so she could hear the intruder. The sudden invasion of reality was maddening. The inane babble of the patrons and irritated twitter of the pop trash jukebox wasn't what she wanted to hear. She wanted to hear the sound of battle. Meh, leave us looking at your butt. Whichever moronic friend said that inane comment giggled like a fool as Lee told him to leave Deb alone. Ha fucking ha. Deb didn't need anyone to fight her battles for you. Touch me again and I'll break your fucking fingers. She vowed as she replaced the headphones and picked the lock to the cell door. Free once more, Deb crouched in the shadows and waited for guards to move away. She didn't know if what she was feeling was in her head or the wall of the booth. Pressing her back against the wall of the dungeon, Deb edged towards a rack of 6 long spear-like weapons. Silently, she grabbed the longest of them and turned back towards her captors. With a sudden lunge, she impaled the stick in the first barbarian's eye, popping it like a poached egg. While his friend screamed, the second guard received a shot kicked between his legs and was then smashed over the head with a wine bottle she had grabbed from the guard table. This was amazing. The level of interactivity was something else. Everything she could see, she could use as a weapon. No game in history had ever given the player that much freedom. Blood spurted from the second guard's neck as she raked his jugular with a jagged shard of glass. Snapping the spear-like stick in two, she popped the first guard's other eye, then slammed his head, stick first, into the table, puncturing what classed as his brain. Another guard rushed her, holding a stool. Deb dropped, kicked his legs out from under him, then picked up the wooden seat and battered his head into a paste. Another guard attacked, followed by another and another. Deb disposed of them all using glass bottles, sticks, chairs, and even cutlery. As she rampaged from room to room, she'd never felt so alive. This was her moment to shine. All those people who looked at her pityingly and told her that gaming was a waste of time were so wrong. It was they who were wasting their lives, going to work, having relationships, having conversations. What a waste of game time. Just when she couldn't feel any more exhilarated, a voice boomed at her from the darkness. Yes, that's it. Release me. Free me with your life. The insectoid voice was like honey in her ears. It was thick and sickly, yet so seductive. You have opened the way. I am free to feed on humanity. You are the chosen. You are the discarded one. Face me, Jerigathy, she demanded, as she used a candle to set fire to a pool of flammable liquid. Wielding one of the spears, Deb smashed more bottles to feed the flames. The dungeon was soon engulfed in fire so realistic that she could feel the heat on her skin. Where are you? Come and fight me. Deb ran from the flames as Jerigathy laughed. This didn't seem right. This wasn't what she was expecting. Where was the boss fight? Where was the secret? Deb screamed as her ears were assaulted by a high-pitched noise. The feeling she had felt earlier returned with a vengeance. The floor seemed to lurch as her knees buckled. Her vision suddenly cut to a black screen, emblazoned with a huge red ring of death. Deb cried and whimpered as pain scuttled up and down her spine and dug its claws into her brain. She had to keep going. Was this the final test? All her rapidly fading mind could think to do was keep walking towards the red ring of death. One foot after another, She stumbled towards her destiny. Eventually, she reached it and faded to black. The Lord Chirigathi needs feeding. There are several graveyards close to you. Waking to the chipper tones of her smart home, Deb groaned with agony. The pain in her head was hellish. With great effort, she opened her eyes and gazed in confusion at her ceiling. She was somehow back home and had no recollection of leaving the pub. Her mind didn't so much race as stagger as she tried to remember how she got there. Red light illumined her poky abode. She didn't even know that a lighter could do that. Computer, she slurred, put the normal lights back on. Her smart home didn't reply. Getting irritated, she asked again. When she once again was met with stony silence, Deb sat up sharply and instantly regretted it. Blood pumped from her nose like a leaky tap. She held up her hands to catch the downpour. What the hell? She was still wearing the VR gloves from the pub. They were torn, tattered, and caked in what looked like blood and meat. Fearing that she'd been injured, she climbed to her feet using the sofa as an aid. The Lord Jirigathu thanks you for feeding him your wasted life. He is the scavenger. You are the meal. What? What the hell are you talking about, computer? And turn the fucking lights back to normal. Normal? Yes, you stupid piece of junk. Normal, as in not red. Deb gazed at her face in the mirror. She looked about 50 years older than she had been when she went out. Her eyes were sunken, her hair grey and brittle, and her cheeks gaunt and pale. In the creepy red light, she looked like a week-old cadaver. Red is his colour. Red is the colour of death. Right, that's it. You're getting unplugged. Deb turned unsteadily, blood still streaming from her nostrils, and stumbled towards her entertainment centre. What the hell is going on here? The cylindrical AI unit next to her TV was usually lit with a cool digital blue ring at its top. The ring was red. Sparks shot from the wall socket as her fingers descended towards the off switch. She snatched them back and backed away as it cackled and sizzled. That's not good, not good at all. The red light pulsed and flickered. Just for a second, the walls to her room looked like the blood-splattered walls of the burning dungeon. Oh, bug ore. To say the sound of her own voice, digitized and pumped through a tinny AI speaker, was unnerving would have been a massive understatement. The hairs on Deb's neck twitched and vibrated. Shut the fuck up, you stupid machine. Her voice was shrill with hysteria. This stream of apparent gibberish came out in a warped amalgamation of her own voice and that of the AI. It was disturbing, to say the least. Right, that's it. You die. Smearing blood from her lips with the back of her mangled VR glove, Deb stomped over to the kitchen, grabbed her foot-tall wooden pepper mill, walked over to the device and flattened it with an overhead swing. Its plastic casing cracked open and wires spilt out like intestines as she roared and she bellowed. Take that, you annoying lump of plastic. Dropping the grinder to the floor with a dull thud, Deb suddenly felt dizzy from the exertion. Blood was still trickling from her nose, and her brain throbbed harshly. Steadying herself with one hand on the wall, she snapped her head around and glared at her hi-fi in alarm, as it suddenly blurted out a distorted rendition of Johnny Cash's Ring of Fire. It was half a time slower than normal and sounded like the record was warped. Never before had the Man in Black sounded so damn terrifying. With a whimper of alarm, Deb advanced on the device, staring in horror at the little red ring of death that replaced all of the previously blue power indicators. Oh, not you too. A nightmare marriage of Johnny Cash, her smart home assistant, and what sounded like one of the chipmunks declared from the vibrating speakers. Stop it, just stop it, stop it. Deb was quickly becoming frantic. She picked up the peppermill and waved it at the stereo in a menacing fashion. Don't make me do this. Ping! Now what? Don't tell me my phone has gone mad too. Ignoring the belch of static and feedback from her stereo, Deb grabbed her handbag and took out her phone. Hey Deb, nice moves earlier. Jerigathy is very pleased with your offering. It was Art Scavenger 64. What? Came a terse reply. Something about his last comment had frozen her soul. You might want to check the news. Before she could react to the message, the TV snapped on, and a solemn-sounding newsreader intoned. A fire has broken out at a public house here in Bethel Cove. It is unclear how the fire started, but the police are treating it as suspicious. So far, the death toll has reached 11. No, it can't be. The screen flickered with images of Siren's Rest being consumed by flames as firemen fought in vain to douse the inferno. This can't be happening. Ping! Oh, yes, it can. Deb screamed as the TV flickered and pixelated before showing CCTV footage of her battering Lee's head into oblivion with a bar stool. It flicked again. Now it was mobile phone footage of her jamming a pool cue into Beavis's eye socket, then slamming his head onto a table with such force that the chalk tip of the stick burst through the back of his skull. Still screaming, Deb hurled the peppermill at the TV and ran for the door. Electric current danced on the metal handle, fizzing, sparking. She wasn't getting out that way. Ping! Rejoice! You are the first to unravel the secrets in the code. Not even the morons that created it all the way back in the 90s could crack the seventh seal. Jerigathy is free to hunt the internet for his favorite meal, waste. He will feed on the time wasters and procrastinators, gorge himself on the lost and discarded. The parasite code is in the system. The god is in the machine. Don't fight it. Give yourself to the scavenger. Before Deb could reply to Art Scavenger's insane ravings, all three of her computer monitors turned in her direction. Each one was filled by a single three-lobed burning eye. Wires and cables rose into the air around them, flailing like the poisonous fronds of a jellyfish. Deb had to get the hell out of there. Her only avenue of escape, however, was the window. As Deb turned to run, a power cable shot from the socket by the mangled AI and tried to coil around her wrist. Fighting with what little strength she had left, Deb managed to slip her hand free and bat it aside. More cables snapped in her direction like tentacles. She ducked and strafed past them, heading in the direction of the window. As the computer monitor screeched and hissed, Deb pulled the window open and looked down. She was 4 stories high. This wasn't going to end well. But what other choice did she have? She was dead either way, and at least this way, she would deprive Jerigathy of his victory. This was one boss fight. She was never going to win. Wishing that she had a health potion handy, Deb hurled herself through the window, then slammed headfirst into the ground like a dart. Game over. The end. Oh, yeah, that was fairly tricky, that one. Well, I hope you enjoyed that. That was The Red Ring of Death from the D&T Publishing anthology. It's all fun and games until somebody dies. As always, I will take some questions or comments or whatever. I'll have a look at them in a moment. Yes. So, yeah, like I say, if you want to get hold of it, there's the old link down the bottom. D&T Publishing have put out quite a number of things. This is my first occasion to work with them. But they've put out a number of anthologies and things like that. Very well worth looking at. They've done a series of A to Zs of horror. Very, very much worth a look. Okay, let's have a look what comments we got here. Oh, it's quite a lot. This may take some time. Morning, Neen. Yes, speaking of which, That is Dawn, who is the D in D&T Publishing. Thanks for tuning in, Dawn. Thank you. Yeah, funnily enough, Chris. Chris Hewitt says Red Ring of Death. We've all been there after a dubious curry choice. Am I right, or am I right? Yes. Well, that was the. That's why I had to slip Johnny Cash's Ring of Fire in there, just as a, you know. I don't know. I don't know whether the rest of the world thinks like Lowe's British on that one, but there you go. Ah, yes. I was hoping somebody would actually say it because my first Xbox 360 that I bought quite close to launch got the Red Ring of Death, and I fully felt the character's horror. Oh man, there's certain things that chill gamers' souls, and the Red Ring of Death is one of them. Yeah. Bad flashbacks, man. Excellent. Thank you for tuning in, Michelle. Michelle's just done a unboxing video thingy, Bob, over on Erie River. So if you didn't see that before, check it out after. Some cool stuff. It's I don't know if anybody saw the mugs I posted earlier, the purple octopus and things like that. There's some stickers of them now you can buy. Yeah. Sounds so much better in your voice than in mine. I think it's my accent because I write in my accent. So it's why I'm always really concerned. Although, like, because I've had a few things done for audio books by other like readers now, and it's something I'm always really concerned about. It's just like, is it going to work in somebody else's accent? Because I know I write in my own accent. But I'm really happy to say that the ones that I've heard, they've nailed it. Yeah, absolutely nailed it, and it's been quite strange hearing your words in another person's voice. So yeah, I feel for the people I've read their stories before. Then it must be really strange hearing it written and read in my voice. Where are we? Oh, here we go. We've got this. Ignore this, or just ignore it. You are blocked, sir. Go away. There's nothing more irritating than this. Oh man, just go away. Chris Hewitt, I think you have pulled, mate. Usually only goes after the women, so I think you I'm also druddy. Oh, just ignore the sod and I'll block the bugger. Excellent. Kurt's on the emergency rum. You've always got to have a bottle under the sink, haven't you? I mean, I have emergency gin personally, but you know. Thanks for that, Kurt. Yes, computer says no. Yeah. Oh, cheers, Pete. Glad you could join in. That's Mr. Pete Finnemore from the Goth bands Grooving in Green and Children on Stand. Yeah, thank you, man. Good friend of mine. Good to see you, mate. Yeah. Does Microsoft self-sabotage their pro? Yeah, I'm convinced of it. It's funny enough. I've actually written the whole. Well, my episodic novella. Part of that is something that I call Expiration Day, which is inbuilt obsolescence. You know, things are built with a certain shelf life, meaning you have to buy the new product. I mean, PCs are notorious for it. Like you got like a 5-year life, and then it'll just go. So I thought, what if some kind of cosmic entity could harness that and get everything to expire at the same time? It caused chaos, wouldn't it? Make the alleged bloody millennium bug look a bit daft, wouldn't it? So yeah, no, that's something I wonder about quite a lot. You know, what if somebody could like make everything electrical expire at the same time? Kind of cool. Yeah. Oh, go away with that. Well, anyway, yes. So basically, thank you. And like I say, just ignore that person. Annoyingly, I'm gonna have to go back and like delete all of his comments. It's incredibly annoying, and then he's blocked. So yes, again. Oh God, it's still there. Just go away. Right, yes. Yeah, so like I say, it's from D&T Publishing, and that's how you get hold of a copy. It's getbook.app/ it's all fun and games. That's getbook.app/ it's all fun and games. I have no idea when I'm going to be doing my next one, but next reading, but I imagine it'll be fairly soon. I tend to do the After Hours series. I'm booked up into the middle of like April now, so there's one of them a week. And next time, my guest is person who spoke earlier, Mr. Chris Hewitt. So that's going to be fun. I'm going to grill him mercilessly about monorails and amulets. Wait, watch this space. It's going to be like it'll be like what's it like Paxman. So, why did you want monorails? Excellent. Yeah. Again, if you want to keep up to date with all the stuff, my writing misadventures, that's how you can go on it. All my previous videos are listed under the video section, and there's links there to my official YouTube thingamabob, which some of you are probably on, and if you're not, you're on my Facebook one. Anyway, so yes, that's timmendeeswriter.wordpress.com. I've also recently started a newsletter, and if you sign up to it, you will get a free cosmic horror novelette, which, funnily enough, this T-shirt is kind of promoting tonight, because it is part of my King in Yellow mythos, so it does feature the yellow sign. By the way, you're probably all going to go mad and get visits from Hastur now. Have you seen the yellow sign? For the rest of you, just nod and smile, because you probably don't know what I'm talking about. Okay, yes. So, again, thank you all for tuning in. I hope you enjoyed yourselves. I certainly did. I'll speak to you all soon, and I will see you all next time. Thank you very much. Thank you all.